What's up everyone? So today I'm going to be responding to a guy who's pretty big in the cryptocurrency world who did a vid about vegans. To give you a little bit of background, this guy, Charles Hoskinson, who's the founder of cryptocurrency platform Cardano and co-founder of the cryptocurrency Ethereum, spoke in a recent video about building a better world. And apparently it had a few comments there from vegans about how if he wants to build a better world, he should go vegan and stop supporting the largest act of systemic violence on the planet, which is animal agriculture. Now, he doesn't show any of the comments he's talking about in this video of his I'm responding to, so who knows exactly what these comments said or how they were said. But in any case, the points he makes in this recent vid need responding to, so I'm going to do that now. So let's see what the Cardano founder has to say about his recent comments from vegans.
Wanted to make a quick video because there's a few things that have been percolating about. Recently, some vegans reached out to me, first by email and then in a much more public way, basically aggressively bullying and saying that if I'm not vegan, then I'm unethical and a bad human being and I don't care about the world, and there's a moral inconsistency in the devouring of meat.
Okay, so as I said, he never even says what these comments exactly were or shows them at all, so it's hard to know what the credibility of this statement is. But in any case, Charles, if you were to look inside a slaughterhouse and see what it is you're supporting, you would see who the real victims are.
I'm tolerant of people's beliefs, and if people want to be vegetarian or vegan, if people want to follow a particular religion, if people want to do whatever, that's not a problem. But what I don't tolerate or when people say, if you don't believe the things I believe, then you're a bad human being and your morals are wrong.
Okay, so this is one of those things that everyone says, but no one actually means. Is there even a single person on this planet who doesn't negatively judge the actions of others, consider them morally wrong, or define someone's morals based on their beliefs, especially ones that lead to actions that harm others? Charles absolutely does deem the morals of billions of people worldwide to be wrong. If he didn't, he wouldn't be human. We all do this. It's what ethics is about. If someone beats their spouse, you might say it's wrong. If someone believes it's okay to cut someone's head off because they left their religion, we'd judge that person's beliefs and call it immoral, and so on. What Charles means here is that he thinks it's bad when people judge people's behaviour towards farmed animals as immoral and wrong. That is, it's okay to judge something as bad when a human's getting their head hacked off, but when the victim is a cow, suddenly vegans should just respect that.
I eat meat. For the rest of my life, I'm probably going to eat meat. It is what it is. And I understand the arguments for vegetarianism, and actually quite sensible. I don't understand the arguments for veganism. I never have and I never will. If I go and take eggs that my chickens lay, that I take care of myself, how is that unethical to the animal given they're treated incredibly well? If I eat cheese produced from cows that are treated really well, that aren't slaughtered or butchered, how is this bad? I just don't understand it.
Well, first off, to say you never will understand it is a totally counterproductive mentality to have with regards to growing as a person. Of course you would understand veganism if you examined the arguments for it and looked in detail at what happens in each of the industries vegans refuse to support. But to respond to Charles's points about backyard eggs from chickens he keeps himself and cheese from cows who are treated well and aren't slaughtered, why does Charles bring this up? Is he saying this is the only way he eats eggs and cheese? He doesn't go to the shop or the restaurant and buy eggs and cheese and products containing eggs and milk just like every other non-vegan does? Eggs that result in male chicks being shredded alive at hatcheries because they're of no use to the egg industry? From hens forced into a painful existence where their bodies have been commodified to lay over 300 eggs per year and then end up at the slaughterhouse? Cheese from the milk of a mother cow who has her calves taken from her and murdered before she meets the same fate herself once her milk production has slowed down? This is the reality. And this is what everyone is buying. Why should I even need to entertain the argument here of eggs his chickens lay or cows who are treated really well? The vast majority of animal products in Charles's country are from factory farm concentration camps. and the few farms that there are that are close to these idyllic scenarios that non-vegans like to portray are still unethical, because the same things still happen to these animals as happen on factory farms. They're still bred for the sole purpose of being exploited, abused and murdered. The only difference is one looks prettier and has more space. If Charles does want to look into why vegans don't see it as ethical to consume backyard eggs though, there are plenty of videos on the subject. However, of course we vegans acknowledge that this is less harmful than buying farmed eggs or products with ingredients containing farmed eggs. Nonetheless, it is ultimately harmful and furthers the cycle of exploitation and abuse.
Veganism to me, in many cases, is a cult. Everybody knows you're vegan because you tell them.
Veganism a cult? Perhaps you didn't realise that your belief system of carnism revolves around daily animal sacrifice, and that people are brainwashed into supporting acts of brutal injustice that they would never have thought up by themselves. As for us telling people we're vegan, we'd love to live in a world actually where we never had to mention a thing about animal rights. The reality though is that in a world where billions of animals are victimised every single day for people's trivial enjoyment, someone needs to speak up about it. There is no larger act of injustice on the planet, and to be silent about it would be foolish. But on the subject of making it known about what you eat, try living as a vegan even one day in this carnist world where we are surrounded by big ag propaganda on a daily basis. Then you'll really see who talks about it more.
Let me be exceedingly clear to you. If you treat me with respect, I'll be nice and kind back to you. If you treat me like an asshole, go fuck yourself. I don't have time for you.
So perhaps Charles is referring here to vegans who are calling him insulting names, or who have just got into shit fights with him without actually having a conversation about the ethics of animal oppression. For the record, as vegans we do need to understand that we were also raised in a carnist society and funded all these things ourselves. So we need to be approachable and understanding in our advocacy, and actually take the time to explain the things we needed explaining to us. However, Charles could equally just be referring here to vegans who are indeed advocating in the way I've just mentioned, or who have said nothing confrontational at all, and this is something I've noticed many non-vegans do. They will see a simple message just like, put peace on your plate, be vegan, and see that as forcing your views or bullying or being disrespectful, acting like the victims at the most modest of messages. But Charles, if you wish to be treated with respect, why not treat animals with respect also, and stop seeing them as objects here to provide food for us and serve us? That is the definition of disrespect.
What I'm very tired of in life is waking up every day trying to figure out, how do I not offend somebody? How do I not tell people what I really feel and believe? Instead, how do I predict what they want to hear and be a sycophant or a demagogue, or be so deluded that there's no actual substance there? You know it when you see it. The corporate doublespeak, the slogans that they run time and again and again and again to try to make as least offensive as possible. And reality is that the world is hungry for legitimacy and genuineness, and for people who actually are real. And I said a long time ago, I have to make a decision. Am I the kind of CEO that it would be safe to put in charge of a Fortune 500 company? Or am I the kind of CEO where the only way I get there is by building it myself, because no one would actually take the risk of hiring me? And I said, you know what? Let me do the latter, because I can live with myself that way. So I eat meat, and I'm going to let the world know that I eat meat, and I'll never apologize for it.
That's funny, Charles, because a moment ago, you were talking about how vegans are always telling everyone about how they're vegan. And now you want to boast about the fact that you eat animals and aren't even remorseful about being responsible for their death. But anyhow, to analyse that segment there from Charles, Charles is saying he is a real and straight-talking person, rather than one of these public relations pandering CEOs who just say shit to appease people. And that's cool that he has that position. I really admire that and think that the world needs more legit people also. But taking this into account, Charles should surely also acknowledge that we as animal rights activists wish to behave the same. We're not just going to beat around the bush or blow smoke up his arse about the fact that there's a horrific injustice taking place right now. If it's truth and legitimacy that Charles admires, then he should, if anything, appreciate that justice movements like ours are trying to bring exactly that to society.
Because here's the reality. In a free society, you're going to disagree with people. They have different values than you. That doesn't mean that those people are evil, and that doesn't mean that society is in some way corrupt, broken, or bad. It just means you disagree.
So now Charles is downplaying the animal holocaust by writing it off as just this thing where, hey, we can disagree and that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, as if it's as trivial an issue as your favourite colour or something. I wonder how quick Charles would be to make this statement if humans were being enslaved, forced into gas chambers, having their throats slit, and everyone around him was supporting it and passing it off as ultimately harmless. Consuming and wearing animal products has deadly real-world consequences. Your actions affect others, and yes, animals qualify as others. If you were in those animals' position, trust me, you'd want us to be speaking up for you, and you certainly wouldn't be saying society isn't in some way corrupt, broken, or bad.
And some people somehow, some way, have found out that by embracing and accepting diversity of thought, even when there are strong disagreements, that the world works better. The side that burns books, the side that censors the platforms and says there's only one truth and way of thought, I can't remember a single instance in human history where that side has been the good side, the good people.
I agree. And indeed you'll find it's actually vegans who are the ones being censored right now on social media, while farming pages continue to run unchecked. Kind of proves the point, actually.
It's okay to be around people that you don't always agree with, and we as a society should reward legitimacy and openness and transparency and honesty.
I hope that Charles demands that same level of transparency, openness and honesty from the animal farming industries, who intentionally hide their evil doings from the public, and even aim to penalise those who expose their horrific practices. See the ag-gag laws for more details.
If you're truly vegan, I don't think you could ever buy toothpaste. If you're truly vegan, I don't think you could ever wear clothing or participate in most consumer products or ride in a car with leather seats. Where does it stop?
So now Charles is committing what's known as nirvana fallacy, i.e. if something isn't perfect, then why even bother? Charles presumably is against humans being oppressed, yet understands we live in a world where human oppression does exist, and thus it's often practically unavoidable to not use products that have some form of human oppression involved. For example, the very electronic devices he used to make the video I'm responding to. But would that mean we should scrutinise him, as someone who presumably is against human slavery, simply because he uses soap and rides in cars? All vegans are asking is for animals to stop being bred, enslaved, abused and murdered. Is that really such a big ask? And once that all stops, then finally we can live in a world where we don't have to ride in a taxi that might have, cow skin seats and so on. Vegans might not be perfect, but at least we're trying to end inexcusable injustice.
You know, I respect and appreciate that we as a society should have higher standards and morals and ethics, and the treatment of animals is something I actually deeply care about. All the animals I have, and I'm willing to wager I have far more animals than you do, many donkeys, chickens, goats, horses, 5 dogs, I take care of. And they live long, happy lives, and we don't slaughter them.
I wish Charles would make the connection here, and I hope he sees this video and hope that he does. There's a reason you don't slaughter those animals in your care, Charles, and that's because you acknowledge that they have moral value, and you would, I'm assuming, I hope anyway, feel devastated if one of your friends in fur or feathers was violently taken from you. Please understand, Charles, that the animals whom you eat, whom you pay to be used as machines for you to be then sent to their execution, are no different to those beautiful animals in your care. They are sentient beings with thoughts, feelings and a desire to live, just like those animals you keep. And if you believe that animals have any moral value at all, why reduce them into sandwiches and shoes? Animal welfarism rests on a logical contradiction. In order to believe in the welfare of animals, you'd have to deem animals as being deserving of moral value. But if you deem animals as having moral value, then the least they deserve is simply to not be killed. not be exploited. These are just basic rights. Vegans aren't asking for sheep to be able to pilot planes or chickens to be allowed to vote. We're simply asking for society to give back to them their inherent birthrights that have been robbed from them. That is all we ask. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and head over to my Patreon if you want to support my activism.